Welcome to the WNBA on NBC. We are live at the WNBA Finals ahead of Game 1 in Las Vegas. It's Natalie, Esquire, and I'm here with Meghan Hall from USA Today's For the Win. Thanks for joining me, Meghan.
Thank you for having me. What a blast it's going to be. I'm super excited.
For sure. This has sort of become a thing for us. We did this at All Star, so
We did.
Yeah.
We did. All right. I guess we're keeping it going. Keeping it going.
So yeah, like I said, we're here to discuss the WNBA Finals. We just heard from the stars of both teams. They look, I would say, for both sides, very focused, like serious demeanor. And not saying like they're not having some fun along the way, but Asia was, very serious looking. Chelsea Gray, AT came up on the podium and said that she's super competitive. I felt like maybe Ka was giving us a little bit of vibes and energy, but everybody else seemed like really focused.
No, I mean, I think that's what you want to see, right? Like they just both got done playing really intense series, and now this is a series of the best of seven, the first ever best of seven series. So you're going to need that energy, you're going to need that stamina to get through that. So yeah, they're locked in. At the end of the day, I think we'll probably see peaks, right? We'll see moments where they're having fun and that's where they're enjoying themselves. But yeah, you got to be locked in and they're focused. So I was not shocked to see that personally, but I do appreciate the energy. I do appreciate the jokes, in between to keep things a little light.
Yeah, I found it interesting. I asked both sets of stars if they can look back on the regular season series at all to help them prepare, and both they're like, no, like it's playoff basketball. I was a little surprised by that. I don't think the regular season results matter, but I would think you could take some things away from it in terms of like just X's and O's and like strategic planning. But I defer to the experts. They say no. What did you think, Meghan?
I would probably agree with them. Like playoff basketball, everything resets. Like you could be phenomenal during the regular season. You can get to the finals and not do well, or you can be so during the regular season and get to the finals and crush it, right? It just all depends on what you bring to the table. And for them, like, yes, they see little tendencies, they know little things, they have those scouts, but like they've essentially got to adjust on the fly. And that's really where you see the teams that are going to be successful are going to make those adjustments. So for them, it's like, yeah, we're familiar with one another, but we're also kind of not, right, at this grand stage. So I think it'll be very interesting to see which versions of these teams will we get. Like, will we get the versions that have been in the playoffs, or will it be something completely different when the pressure is the highest?
For sure. I'm gonna ask the coaches though and see what they say.
The answer is probably going to be it's different, right?
Well, I feel like no, but I do feel like you always hear people say, "Oh, postseason, nothing that happens in the regular season matters," but that's not true. Like the results in the postseason show that that's not fully true. So I feel like it's a thing that they say, but I don't know if that's true. But the coaches may have a different perspective. So I just, I want to know. But let's talk about this matchup a little bit. Let's dig into it because Las Vegas did win the regular season series against the Mercury. And so that was 3-1. I know in that very first matchup too, Asia Wilson actually didn't play. And we know throughout the course of the regular season, the Mercury, they did not always have their stars available. And one of the times, one of their last matchups of the season, that's when Vegas was in the middle of that win streak, that now notorious famous win streak. They went on to close the season 16 games to secure the 2 seed. So, both teams battle tested. Vegas, they've went the full distance in each of their prior rounds before this. The Mercury got it done in 3 games in the first round, and then in the second round, 4 games. And so what are your thoughts coming into this matchup in terms of who has an advantage here?
Oof. Jeez. I mean, I think the very obvious one is probably the Las Vegas Aces having the advantage of being to the finals more recently, right? You've got 2 championships within the last 4 seasons. But Phoenix, of course, has some championship experience as well. I'm curious about 2 things actually for both teams. The bench units for both teams, and I don't really know if there's necessarily, this team's bench has an advantage over this team's bench, because you just don't know what version you're going to get in the playoffs. So I'm curious about what happens. And then the other thing that I'm curious about is, and if someone has an advantage in it, maybe it's the Aces, just because they have guard depth. So for them, I mean, you're starting out with Chelsea Gray, you're starting out with Jackie Young, and then you go to Joel Lloyd, then you go to Dana Evans on the bench, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a really good sort of mix of players. For Phoenix, then I'm curious about like, okay, if it's Kalia Copper, Manuka Kani, who's it going to be off the bench after that, right? That's usually where I kind of get a little worried about like how are they going to match up in that sort of respect. But to be honest with you, like Phoenix has been playing very, very well. Their defense has been top notch, the best in the playoffs. So I'm not sure at this point that there's a whole lot that I would say, oh, this team clearly has an advantage over this team. They're actually, I in my opinion, I think probably a little more evenly matched, and maybe I give the defensive advantage to Phoenix in that regard.
I'm so glad you said this because that's where I was going to go. This series is a pick-em to me. I don't know that I've decided yet who I think is going to win it.
What?
I know you're going to force me into it. I know
I'm definitely asking. I've already had to make mine. I was forced to do it as well, so I'm definitely asking this.
I'm going to hedge a little bit, but we'll get there. We'll get there before the end.
Boo, tomato.
But I do think that Phoenix has the defensive advantage in terms of the reliability and the consistency of their defense. I think as a whole, both teams are a little inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
But with Phoenix, it's their offense where they can be sometimes inconsistent, but their defense, I think they can always stand on. They can always rely on.
Yeah.
You know, the Aces, they had a shaky defense throughout the season. I mean, they finished only with an 8th ranked defense. And yes, it was a top defense over the course of that win streak. But, you know, a lot of that win streak, it was them getting it done offensively, to be honest. And so, you know, the old saying, defense wins championships. And also in the last round, Vegas had some struggles rebounding the basketball. You need to get rebounds to win championships. And so, look, I am not questioning the 2-time back-to-back champions, third finals in 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And so best player in the world in A'ja Wilson. Jackie Young is playing out of her mind right now. You know, who's the third best player in this series? We know it's A'ja and it's Alyssa Thomas. Is Jackie Young the third best player? Is it Satu? Is it Ka?
Why would you do this to me?
Yeah, because that's what I mean. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? But like, we know it's those 5, but like, Jackie has an argument, I think is the point that I'm making, to be the third best player in this series. And so that duo of her and A'ja Wilson. And then when you throw in Chelsea Gray, when she sometimes just brings out, you know, the point guard. And I mean, she was making some incredible shots that were very reminiscent of that first Aces championship, you know. So like they both have a big 3, but you know what A'ja and Jackie have been doing right now in this postseason is special. So it's really hard. I do agree with you that these are 2 evenly matched teams, and it's a pick 'em to me this series.
I will say this. I had to do a ranking, and I ranked all 23 players in this finals. And that was one of the hardest things I've had to do, because it, like, once you get down to the depth, it gets really tough to kind of rank and that sort of thing. But I will say this. I did have Jackie Young as my third best player in this series for the simple fact that I think she's had an underrated season. You heard it today. I asked multiple players about Jackie Young. Best 2-way guard in the league is what multiple players said. Even Kalia Copper said that. I talked to Becky Hammond, asked her about Jackie's evolution. She said, I'm not shocked at any of this because she was doing this last year. It's just everybody's paying more attention to it now.
She's also more efficient though now. The shooting is much higher. So while she always had these capabilities, right now she's playing at a super high level.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what Phoenix throws at Jackie Young. Like, will they be able to slow her down? I think for the Aces, I'm also curious of what Chelsea Gray brings, right? Like, Chelsea Gray plays very well when the lights are the brightest. So very, very curious to see what version of the point guard we're going to get. Like, and I wrote about this too, is that you don't need Chelsea to be a big scorer. Like, she doesn't have to drop a 30 and 15, like, for you to get the most out of Chelsea Gray. 10 to 15 can get it done for Chelsea Gray because she's also bringing the facilitation skills. And so I think this matchup might even come down to who can not only get the best out of their defense, right? Because we've talked about that inconsistency from time to time, but also who can get the most out of their offense. Like, if you, for example, if you were to slow down Chelsea Gray, what does that do for Vegas? If you slow down Alyssa Thomas, what does that do for Phoenix? Those are the types of things that are going through my mind all day. And I'm like, this is such a fantastic like series when you go look at it, because there's so many good things that both the teams do. And I honestly do think that like it might come down to a 7-game series where like we could go the distance here, because both teams are going to throw everything they have at each other.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Kalia Copper and Chelsea have been playing similar roles in these series for both of their teams, right? Like they have like these really big shots, big moments where they just do something, and then I feel like Jackie and Satu have been similar. Like they've just been. Like Satu's been so good. We haven't said enough about her. She had the one first game against New York in the first round, and the internet was coming for her, and she's just silenced them since then. I mean, she's been tremendous. In game 4 in the last series versus the Lynx, she was keeping, the Mercury in that game until everyone else could show up. And so, like I said, similar to Jackie, Jackie's just been so good. And then, of course, you have the engine and AT and Asia Wilson. So, the X factors may just come down to other players, who can step up. Dana Evans has stepped up and had some big games, or Monique taking on the best player with her defense. And, she can knock down some threes. Sammy Whitcomb has been so big this postseason. I mean, just incredible shot making. And so Dewana Bonner, she's had some really big moments too. And so it might really come down to these X factors in this series. This is what I'm going to say my prediction is. I know you're going to judge me for it.
I'm already judging.
I think Phoenix has to get it done in 6. So
Phoenix in 6. Okay.
I'm saying if they're going to win, I think it has to be in 6.
If they're going to win.
I'm not saying that they're not capable of winning on the road. We know they just showed us, right? Yeah. But in a game 7 back in Vegas, with the 2-time champions, I wouldn't pick against them. But I think this is to me the weakest the Aces have been in all of their runs to the finals. And so if there was a time for Alyssa Thomas to finally get her ring,
it's now.
Right? Okay. All season they've talked about how this team has been overlooked, underestimated, whatever it is. Alyssa Thomas has had 2 finals trips already. I know she wants to leave with a ring. She said in the press conference today, she said all season she's been telling them we're going to the finals. So people may have been underestimating them and her, but she always knew, right? And so I think if there's a year for her to get it done, it's this year. And so, if it's going to be this year, it would be Mercury in 6. If this series goes beyond 6 games, I think it's going to be Aces in 7.
Okay, I'm rolling my eyes at this because you usually put me like on the spot. Let's go, Meg. I want to hear your predictions. So I'm gonna stick with what I said. Listen, maybe I knew something. I don't know. Maybe I'm smarter than I think I am. But I actually had the Aces in the finals in my preseason prediction, and I want to let you know it looked like trash for a good bit of the season when the Aces were going through it, and then suddenly it didn't look as trashy. So now here we are. Aces are in the finals. I'm going to stick with Aces. I said Aces in 6. That was my prediction. And that is actually already out on the internet. So this is not me off the top of my head. But I think the experience of Vegas is probably in these moments is probably what lifts them. But I did caution and say, this is probably going to be the grittiest, ugliest sort of win. Like it doesn't need to be like as gorgeous as some of the other runs. You just have to get it done. So I think if that's the case, I really have a hard time betting against Asia Wilson.
I do too.
And I will say this.
I don't want to end up on the Summer Jam screen. I really don't.
Listen, at this rate, we're going to be called out. You're going to be tweeted about for making these predictions. But I think if there's something to be said about Asia Wilson having a chance at another ring, I think Las Vegas as well to have a chance. And here's the other thing.
Solidifying the dynasty,
right? Here's my other little spicy bit. I had to pick an MVP, and it was not Asia Wilson. My MVP, my dark horse pick is Jackie Young for MVP in these finals. And I have been talking about Jackie Young and how critical she's been throughout this stretch. She has not been talked about enough for what she's been doing. We've given Asia Wilson a lot of credit for this Aces run, but Jackie Young has also been very critical to it. I don't think they get here without her efforts. And so that is my dark horse pick for finals MVP. I'm still, again, taking Aces in 6. I don't know what these games will look like. These games could literally be 2-point wins. I have zero idea. But I do think that if the Aces have a chance at potentially winning a 3rd ring, like Give me Asia Wilson, give me Chelsea Gray, give me Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd gets another ring. Like that would be phenomenal.
Historic.
It is. And here's the other thing: if this happens this season, we will be talking about this season for generations because a 16-game winning streak to get you to not only to the finals, but you win it and you get a third championship in 4 seasons.
Absolutely.
Need I say more?
Yeah. No. Look, you just preached the gospel, so you don't follow that up. I am a punk. I'm just saying that I am not picking a team here, and y'all know me. I will always give y'all my opinions, but I just truly don't know. It's like, to me, either team can win this year, and I for sure don't like picking against Asia Wilson. I love that Finals MVP pick. Look, Chelsea Gray's been a Finals MVP, and I think that the Aces. I think Asia Wilson would be the biggest cheerleader if Jackie Young got that. So it's definitely possible. I like that pick a lot. Well, look, game 1 tomorrow night, Friday. So we're looking forward to this. Meghan, thank you so much for joining me on the WNBA on NBC. Always love having you. Guys, make sure you tune in to the WNBA on NBC. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel so you do not miss out.